Hi, Tamara Marie here from the Gringo blog, and I'm here to talk to you today about Duolingo Chatbots and can they really help you learn how to have a conversation in a foreign language. So what are chatbots and why is Duolingo using that instead of actually linking people up with conversation partners? Well, the founder of Duolingo said that they've tried several different things since they've launched the application, and this was the best way that they can find to help people get conversational practice without being afraid or embarrassed of making a mistake when talking to a real person. So how does it work? Well, unfortunately, if you don't have an iPhone, then you really can't test it out right now. You have to pass through 3 levels of practice with the Duolingo application before it's made available to you, and it only has 3 characters at the moment. Now, they say they're going to be adding new platforms and new bots, or your fake virtual conversation partners, every single day. So it's quite possible by the time you see this, there may be many more options. But they started with the iPhone offering. So now we're going to take a look at the Duolingo chatbot in action to get a sense of how it works.
Okay, so this is the first conversation available on the Duolingo chatbot. So once you've completed 3 skill points, you'll see this chat icon come up and you'll see someone come on and you see she just typed in hola. So I responded hola and the chatbot responds ¿Cómo estás? Okay, so far so good. Sounds like a normal conversation. When you meet someone, they usually say, hi, how are you? So now I'm responding, bien, ¿y tú? I'm doing well, and you? And as you can see, it's going okay so far. She's saying, que bien, yo estoy bien. So she's saying, I'm doing well. Now, this is where it gets a little weird. This went by pretty fast, so I don't know if you saw it. So she immediately says, hi, this is my friend Roberto. Say hi to Roberto. And I say, okay. So she's kind of directing me on what to say. So I say, hola, Roberto. So she says, hey, Roberto's busy. He's eating. And then she asks me, what is Roberto eating? And you can see he has a slice of pizza. So as you can see, very quickly, this turns into almost like a quiz. And it's very reminiscent of the Duolingo application in general, where it's really directing you to answer questions and making it sort of like a game. So here, basically, she just says, hey, say hi to Roberto, what is he eating? So after that, she goes, oh, this is my friend, Gabriela, tell her hello. So as you can see here, I'm trying to type in no, right? So I'm trying to say, I don't want to say hi to Gabriela, I want to talk about something else. Well, obviously the chatbot is not smart enough for that. It's not even letting me say no. It has a predetermined set of phrases that you can really select. So as you can see here, I'm forced to say hola, okay? So she says, hey, she's a driver. Hey, what is she reading, So again, this is really not natural. Most of the time when you meet someone, they don't say, hi, here's my friend Robert. He has a piece of pizza in his hand. Or, hey, this is my friend Gabriela. What is she reading? Like, that is just not natural at all when it comes to conversation. Maybe if you're talking to a 4-year-old, that kind of thing works, but I find that to be a little unnatural. So here I just give up at this point. I have to give in, okay, she's reading a newspaper, okay, un periódico. So it's a good answer and I get an experience point for that. So she goes, okay, yes, and she's introducing me to someone else here. So now you can see this feature, it says help me reply. So if you don't know what to say or if it's not accepting your answers, when you hit help me reply, you see you get a list of possible phrases that you can use. So this can sort of be a good feature if you get stuck and you're not really sure how to respond. But again, then we go right back into this unnatural conversation. Hey, my friend Susanna has an animal, okay? What type of animal is it? So I'm trying to type, that it's a cat or a female cat here, una gata. As you can see, I spelled that wrong and it gives me the options to say gata or gatita. So that could be a good feature to sort of help if you get stuck with a word. So then at the end she says, oh, okay, well done. It's time for us to go. Say goodbye. So it's almost like she's saying, good luck, you passed my quiz, we have to say bye. Again, not a very natural conversation, but at the end she says, hasta luego. So that's the first chat that's available. Okay, so now they have a scenario that's actually something that you might encounter. visiting a restaurant. Here you're being welcomed to the restaurant, and the chef, or I guess who's also the waiter, is asking, would you like a table? So here I say, yes, I'd like a table for four, or yes for four. And it actually asks me, oh, do you like this table? Now, of course, you see the picture, there's some flies on the plate, so I'm supposed to say, no, I don't want that table. So I'm trying to actually say no because it has flies. So I'm trying to say no tiene moscas. But as you can see, it says not an accepted word. So once again, you are still pretty limited in your response. So here I just simply choose to say no. So then the chef comes back and says, oh, this table is really terrible. I'm very sorry. What about this table? So of course he says it's a clean table. So I say, okay. So you notice here you still have those sort of cues that help you type in the word if you have an issue with the spelling. And it also has an auto suggest feature that sort of predicts the next word you might want to type, which is good if you get stuck with responses. Okay, so here he says, good, here's a seat or take a seat. And he's asking, what would I like to drink? Now, this is where it gets funny again. So I'm trying to ask for wine and a glass of water. So I'm trying to say vino y agua, but it only lets me type in one thing. So he says, oh, we only have water, hot chocolate, and coffee, okay? So again, it's limiting what you can ask for. But it is, at least it's intuitive enough to be able to respond, and it actually let me request something that wasn't there. So this is where it gets weird again. So it says, would you like something to eat? Would you like a salad or a sandwich? So again, I'm only presented with two options. And I'm trying now to say nothing to eat, nada de comer. But it's not letting me type in that. So I can only say no thank you. Okay, or nothing thank you. But even though I say I don't want anything, he says, well, do you want a chicken sandwich? And I'm saying no. Okay, I've already said I don't want food. And he's still pushing the sandwich on me. So he goes, okay, wait a minute, all right? No, I'm sorry. First he says, okay, well, do you want cheese in your sandwich? I say, no, I don't want a sandwich. Okay, so let's see what the bot comes back with. He goes, oh, no problem. Wait a minute. And he brings back a sandwich anyway. So again, there's a few limitations here, as you can see. Then it asks, how's everything going, right? And so I'm saying bad, okay? Obviously, you brought me a sandwich that I don't want. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. You don't have to pay for anything. Here's a free cake, okay? A free dessert. So he says, muchas gracias por venir. Thank you for coming. Are you going to return soon? So here, after I've been offered a sandwich I don't want, I'm trying to say creo que no, which is I don't believe so, or I believe not. But it won't let me type creo que no. I can only type no. So again, even though it is a little bit more of a realistic scenario, it still provides some limitations.
Okay, so now that we've looked at how the Duolingo chatbot works, I'm going to give you my opinion. Okay, so let me start with the cons. Number one, it's a written conversation. Now, I don't know how many people consider writing to be a true conversation. For me, if I'm going to have a conversation, I want to be talking to another person, and usually that's going to be a verbal exchange, if not an in-person exchange. So saying that it's conversation practice when it's limited to written text is a little bit of, let's say, a stretch. Now, the Duolingo creators say that they are working on voice recognition for their apps so that you will be able to practice speaking. And I'm really curious to see how that will work with voice recognition. Now, I'll start off by saying I started learning languages as an adult. I grew up speaking only English, and I started to learn Spanish in high school like many people did. Later on, I found out that did not help me at all. When I tried to speak Spanish in the real world, listening to native speakers speak was almost impossible. And me even wanting to speak in return was out of the question. Yeah. If you've been studying Spanish or any other language for a little while now, and you still haven't got up the courage to speak, I'm afraid that the Duolingo chatbot could be a crutch for you. It might give you a false sense that you're really getting conversation practice, when the bottom line is at some point you're gonna just have to talk to someone. Language is about communication, and if you're not talking to another human, you're really not getting true feedback on how your conversational skills are progressing. Okay, one more drawback of this chatbot is that most of the conversations that I have through text and chat, like WhatsApp and other messaging applications, uses an awful lot of shorthand and slang. Think about it in English. You text things like LOL, like WTF, all of these little things that are very common when you're in that type of conversational chat environment are just not used in Duolingo. It's also just not natural. When you have a flow of a conversation with a human, even if it's through text, sometimes you will miss things and you won't understand. Sometimes you'll have to ask for clarification. And for me, when I was learning, even through chatting with other people, I found that it was actually quite comforting to see that even native speakers don't have all their spelling and grammar figured out. There were things that I saw from native Spanish speakers where they were misspelling words, or they didn't have accent marks in the correct places. And you know what? It really didn't matter. To me, that's a valuable stepping stone when you're practicing conversation, to get feedback from other learners and other speakers to see that everyone's not really perfect. That alone takes away quite a bit of the anxiety that you really don't need the crutch of an artificial intelligence app for. Okay, so what are the pros of the Duolingo chatbot? To me, one of the biggest advantages to having the Duolingo application provide conversation practice is that it's always available. If you have to rely on a tutor or a conversation partner or even a friend to practice speaking Spanish, you're at the mercy of their schedule. Usually people are busy, they don't have time to connect, even just for social engagements, let alone to formally practice speaking Spanish, right? So with the Duolingo app, it's with you all the time and it's always available. That means you can practice into the wee hours of the morning, first thing when you wake up, when you're on the toilet, whenever you want to, the application will be available for you. So that's a big plus. Now, the other thing that's good about the Duolingo chatbot, and I mentioned this earlier, is the suggestion feature. If you get stuck in conversation, it will actually give you a phrase that it thinks might work out for you. Now, this obviously isn't going to be perfect because it's artificial intelligence, but for language learners that are trying to think extemporaneously and get stuck in different points in conversation, practicing this over and over again will eventually help you start to come up with those answers on your own. So again, as long as you're using this as a stepping stone to having a real conversation, I think it really can't hurt. The last and most obvious benefit of the Duolingo chatbot is that it's completely free. Why not check it out? What have you got to lose? Download it. If you don't like it, then you haven't lost anything but a few minutes of your time. So I would recommend try it out for yourself. Don't really go based on other people's opinions. You know, we all learn differently and we all have to find out what works for us. And if the mission of Duolingo was to help us overcome that language anxiety when it's speaking to other people, test it out and see if it works for you. Maybe artificial intelligence will be your gateway to Spanish fluency. Now, if you're interested in some of the things I mentioned earlier, like how to find a conversation partner, how to get over your fear of speaking to other people, check out my conversational Spanish series at negringa.com/conversation. That's negringa.com/conversation. There's a whole series of articles there that will help you with things to say in a conversation when you get stuck, how to ask questions, how to introduce yourself, and other very fantastic tips on how to have a real conversation in Spanish. So that's it. Check it out for yourself. Let me know what you think about the Duolingo chatbot and if you think it'll really help you speak fluent Spanish. Until then, please subscribe to my blog, negringa.com, for more tips and tricks on how to learn Spanish and really finally master speaking the language.